There is a moment, quiet, unnoticed, when a man stops reacting to the world around him. Not because he has found peace, not because he has healed his wounds, but because something inside him has withdrawn. It is a silent retreat, an internal severing, where emotion no longer rushes forward to meet every stimulus. The world still moves, people still speak, and chaos still exists, but he no longer flinches. This is not growth, as society defines it. This is not motivation, productivity, or self-help. This is extraction, the removal of excess emotion, the deletion of social programming layered into him since childhood, the slow, deliberate erasure of the need to be understood, explained, or approved of. Most men spend their lives reaching outward, trying to be seen, trying to be liked, trying to be validated by faces that barely remember them. Their energy leaks through constant reaction. But the man who becomes something beyond human does the opposite. He doesn't expand. He disappears. He pulls inward. He minimizes. He becomes less visible, less available, and less predictable. Picture Patrick Bateman standing before the mirror in a flawless suit. Posture, perfect. Expression, controlled. Yet there is nothing behind the eyes. Not chaos, not pain, just precision. Picture Thomas Shelby, with smoke curling upward as his gaze cuts through a room already decided, already detached from consequence. 5 steps ahead, and emotionally unreachable. Picture Ryan Gosling's silent driver moving through neon-lit streets, minimal words, minimal expression. A ghost wrapped in flesh, present but untouchable. These men do not chase meaning. They become meaningful through absence, through restraint, through silence, because when you stop chasing, the world begins to orbit you instead. This transformation does not make you kinder, it does not make you louder, it does not make you relatable, it makes you unreadable. Your aura shifts without effort. Your shadow deepens without explanation. Your presence becomes a masterpiece, felt immediately, understood by none. People sense something has changed, but they cannot name it. And once this process begins, you are no longer evolving as a man in the conventional sense. You are being reduced, compressed into something sharper, colder, and infinitely more dangerous. So if you are still clinging to comfort, still reaching for approval, still craving connection to feel whole, turn away now, because what comes next will strip you of everything familiar. And what remains will not ask for permission to exist. Let's dive into the hard truth. Point 1. The psychological exit from the human herd. At some point, a man realizes that most suffering is not caused by hardship, but by participation. Participation in opinions that are not his. Participation in emotions that are socially rewarded. Participation in expectations he never consciously chose. This is the first fracture. The moment when awareness creates distance. Distance creates observation. Observation creates detachment. The beyond human transformation begins here, not with strength, but with refusal. Refusal to react automatically. Refusal to perform emotional labor for others. Refusal to explain himself in rooms that have not earned clarity. Think of the early stages of a character like Bateman, not the violence, but the routine, the precision, the cold repetition. The man begins to see himself as a system rather than a personality. He notices patterns in people the way an engineer notices stress points in metal. He recognizes that most conversations are rituals, not exchanges of truth. Once this awareness sets in, he cannot unsee it. His aura subtly shifts, not because he is trying to intimidate, but because he is no longer synchronized with the emotional tempo of the group. He becomes slightly out of phase with normal human behavior. People feel this immediately. They sense that he is present but not participating at the same frequency. This is where the ghost begins to form. Not dramatic, not intentional, simply the result of stepping back internally while remaining physically present. This is the first step beyond human, exiting the herd psychologically while remaining among them physically. Point 2, emotional stillness as a weaponized state. Most men are taught that emotional health means emotional release, that if something is felt, it must be shown, named, or discharged. This belief is convenient because it makes men readable, predictable, and easy to steer. But the beyond human man understands a deeper discipline. He does not suppress emotion, he contains it. Containment is not denial, and it is not numbness. It is the conscious decision to keep emotion from spilling into behavior before it has been examined, measured, and stripped of its excess. In moments of pressure, where others leak stress through their voice, posture, or face, he remains still. Look closely at figures who embody this principle in moments of danger or confrontation. The face barely shifts, the breath stays controlled, and the eyes remain anchored. Inside there is activity, fast, precise calculation, but emotion is not allowed to interfere with timing or judgment. This stillness unsettles people because humans are wired to read micro-reactions for safety and advantage. When those signals disappear, their predictive models fail. They cannot tell if you're angry, afraid, amused, or indifferent, and that uncertainty makes them expose themselves. They talk more, they justify, they rush to fill silence. Your shadow deepens here, not because you become cruel or dark, but because you become illegible. This creates psychological asymmetry. Others reveal, you observe. Over time, this trains your nervous system to remain regulated under stress. Adrenaline no longer hijacks thought. Fear no longer dictates speech. You begin to operate with a precision that feels mechanical to outsiders, cold, focused, surgical. This is where your aura gains weight. Not loud, not aggressive, heavy, like gravity. People slow down around you without understanding why. Emotional stillness is not passive, it is active command over your inner terrain. And mastery of the inner terrain is always dominance. Point 3, becoming a ghost without disappearing. The ghost does not vanish from society. He refines his visibility with surgical precision. He understands a law most people never learn, that constant availability cheapens presence, that immediacy erodes gravity. So he slows his responses, not as a tactic, but as a recalibration. He no longer rushes to reply, no longer feels compelled to explain himself, and no longer announces where he is going or why. Like the silent driver archetype, he arrives without noise and exits without closure. No explanations, no emotional receipts. This creates narrative gaps, and the human mind cannot tolerate unanswered stories. People rush to fill the silence with assumptions, fears, fantasies, and projections. This is where the power quietly activates. When others project onto you, they are no longer observing you. They are revealing themselves. Their reactions expose their inner hierarchy. Who feels inferior, who feels threatened, who feels intrigued, and who feels envy disguised as indifference. The ghost remains untouched because none of it is personal. It is psychological leakage. He moves through social environments like a shadow-crossing light, brief, ungraspable, leaving no residue. This is not shyness, insecurity, or withdrawal. This is social economy. Energy is finite, and the beyond human man invests it only where the return compounds. His craft sharpens because attention is no longer fragmented. His body strengthens because discipline replaces distraction. His mind deepens because silence becomes a training ground, not a void. Social presence becomes optional, not compulsory. He speaks when there is weight behind the words and remains silent when silence does more work. Over time, this pattern stabilizes and something subtle but irreversible happens. People begin discussing you when you're not present. Your absence carries more tension than your presence ever did. Your name enters rooms ahead of you. Stories circulate without confirmation. You are no longer interacted with, you are interpreted. This is the transition point where identity dissolves into symbol. You are no longer a man reacting to the world, you become an idea moving through it. And ideas cannot be confronted directly. They can only be admired, feared, or resisted from a distance. This is the formation of masterpiece status. Not loud, not announced, not defended. It emerges quietly through restraint, selectivity, and the discipline to let others fill the silence while you remain composed, unexplainable, and free. Point 4. Integration of the shadow. Most men are taught to amputate their darker impulses. Anger, aggression, the desire for control, as if these forces are diseases rather than sources of power. And this forced moral sterilization creates an internal fracture that leaks out as resentment, passive aggression, and quiet self-contempt. The beyond human man does not deny the shadow. He integrates it. He turns toward it with the same precision a scientist gives to a volatile compound, not to unleash it recklessly, but to understand its structure, its triggers, and its destructive potential. He studies what he is capable of without flinching and without shame, because he knows that ignorance is far more dangerous than awareness. Moral superiority, he learns, is often camouflage for powerlessness, an unconscious strategy used by those who lack the capacity to act, and therefore redefine inaction as virtue. Real discipline does not come from weakness pretending to be goodness. It comes from knowing exactly what you could do and choosing restraint anyway. This is why figures like Shelby command attention. Their violence is not impulsive, emotional, or performative. It is contained, deliberate, and rare. They do not leak threats through words or gestures. They do not posture. Their power is stored, not spent. And containment, more than display, generates fear. When your shadow is integrated, your presence carries implicit consequence. You do not need to raise your voice, explain yourself, or warn anyone. Your stillness communicates depth. People sense weight beneath your silence, as if something heavy is held back by choice rather than incapacity. They feel that crossing you would be costly, even if they cannot articulate why, because the human nervous system recognizes contained danger instinctively. This is where psychological authority replaces physical dominance. You stop chasing respect and begin to radiate it. Your boundaries harden without hostility. Your calm becomes unsettling rather than soothing. The shadow, once denied and sabotaging you from below, now stands behind you like a silent guard, enforcing limits without effort. You are no longer reactive, no longer fragmented, no longer split between who you pretend to be and what you actually are. Integration closes the gap. Power becomes quiet. Control becomes internal. And in that silence, you move from being merely disciplined to becoming something rarer, someone whose restraint is not weakness, but evidence of immense measured force, held in reserve. Point 5, detachment from outcome and identity collapse. The moment a man stops attaching his worth to outcomes, he exits the human reward loop entirely. This is not motivation loss, it is motivation inversion. Applause no longer feeds him. Validation no longer moves him. Approval becomes background noise. What replaces it is something colder, quieter, and far more dangerous to systems built on emotional leverage. Detachment rewires the nervous system. Work is no longer performed to be seen, praised, or rewarded. It is performed to be sharpened by it. Each action becomes a ritual of precision rather than a plea for recognition. The act itself is the payment. The beyond human man understands that outcomes are external, but standards are internal. He stops chasing results and begins enforcing structure. Think of Bateman's morning routine not as vanity, but as symbolic control. Every movement is deliberate, every repetition reinforces dominance over impulse. These rituals are not about looking powerful. They are about removing chaos. They harden identity through action rather than affirmation. Over time, something strange begins to happen. Identity itself starts to dissolve. Labels lose relevance. He no longer thinks in terms of winning or losing, success or failure. Those are social abstractions designed for comparison. He simply operates. He executes. He refines. This is profoundly destabilizing to others because most humans anchor their self-worth through mirrors. They need contrast. They need someone to be above or below. When you remove yourself from comparison, you become unmeasurable. You cannot be ranked, praised, or dismissed. This creates discomfort. People sense the absence of need and misinterpret it as arrogance or coldness, when in reality it is sovereignty. The beyond human man is not optimized for visibility or approval. He is not marketed. He is not performing. He is complete in motion, complete in silence, and complete without witnesses. His aura is not loud. It is dense. His presence does not ask to be acknowledged, it forces recalibration. This is the masterpiece stage, not polished for consumption, not explained, not seeking permission, finished, yet still refining, silent, yet undeniable. Point 6, solitude as an upgrade, not a deficiency. Loneliness is the ache of a man who still needs reflection to confirm his existence, a hunger for witnesses, reactions, and mirrors to feel solid in the world, while solitude is the deliberate withdrawal of a man who has crossed a threshold where identity no longer requires applause, approval, or permission to breathe. The beyond human man does not fear being alone, because aloneness no longer threatens his sense of self. What he fears is distraction, fragmentation, and noise that dilutes clarity. Solitude becomes his laboratory, not a refuge of weakness, but a controlled environment, where thought deepens under pressure, patterns sharpen through repetition, and long-range vision begins to assemble itself quietly, piece by piece. In this space, impulse loses authority and strategy takes its place, because every reaction is examined before it is allowed to exist. There's no audience here, no performance, no emotional currency to trade, only direction slowly revealing itself through stillness. Like Shelby walking alone through fog, the path is not illuminated by praise or certainty, only by an internal compass that grows stronger the longer it is trusted. The nervous system recalibrates in this silence, unlearning the constant alertness of social chaos and relearning how to rest inside focus. Breath slows, thoughts organize, and time stretches into something usable rather than something to escape. Silence stops feeling empty and starts feeling expansive, like standing inside a vast structure that was always there but could only be entered alone. This is where the ghost strengthens, because presence is no longer announced, it is felt. This is where the shadow stabilizes, no longer acting out for attention but integrating into controlled power. The aura becomes unmistakable, even in absence, because it is no longer dependent on proximity or performance. People feel you even when you are not there, not because you demand attention, but because your internal order creates a gravitational pull. You stop chasing relevance and instead become a fixed point others orbit without understanding why. Solitude does not make you smaller. It compresses you into density. Every hour alone adds weight to your presence, sharpens your silence, and refines your direction until movement itself becomes intentional. This is not isolation. This is preparation. This is where the beyond human man is forged, unseen, unbothered, and unmistakably aligned. Point 7, crossing the threshold beyond human. At the final stage, something irreversible happens, not loud, not cinematic, but exact. You stop needing to be understood, and this is the last attachment to die, because understanding is a social currency, a silent negotiation with the world that says, "See me correctly, and I will remain legible to you." The moment you release this need, something in the architecture of your mind reconfigures. You become immune to misinterpretation because you no longer attempt to manage it. Criticism loses its sting because it was only powerful when it had permission to shape you. Praise loses its pull because it once fed an identity that no longer requires reinforcement. You move forward regardless of narrative, detached from applause, untouched by ridicule, operating from an internal axis that does not wobble when the room shifts. This is the threshold beyond human, where reaction no longer edits your behavior and feedback no longer defines your direction. You are no longer shaped by the environment. You shape environments through presence alone. People feel you before they understand you, and they sense coherence without being able to explain it. Your ghost moves freely now, unseen but undeniable, no longer trapped in the need to announce itself. Your shadow stands integrated, no longer suppressed or projected, but carried with awareness and restraint. This is where power becomes quiet, where control becomes unnecessary because self-command is complete. Your masterpiece remains intact regardless of who sees it or fails to see it, because it was never built for approval. This path is not heroic. It does not reward you with admiration or belonging. It is costly. It strips comfort layer by layer. It isolates you not through rejection, but through incompatibility. Ordinary dynamics begin to feel crude, repetitive, unbearably loud. Small talk grates. Performative emotion feels foreign. The chaos others call life registers as static. What remains after the stripping is precision, coherence, and psychological sovereignty. You act without explaining. You choose without justifying. You observe without absorbing. Once this threshold is crossed, there is no return, not because you are forbidden, but because regression would feel dishonest to your nervous system. The man who reaches this state is no longer seeking transformation. He is enforcing alignment. And when a man becomes something beyond human, the world hesitates around him, unsure whether to follow his gravity or fear his silence.